There we go. All right. Come one, come all. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Akari Press YouTube channel. In case you are confused or wondering who I am, my name is Antonio Bryce. I am a comic book creator. I have a comic book called Brand, and its sequel, Brand Way of the Gun, is currently on Indiegogo right now. We're over $16,000. Thank you. Over 300 backers, which is awesome. We are streaming across multiple platforms right now. We're on Twitch. We're on Periscope. We're on YouTube and, of course, Facebook, all at Akari Press if you use any of those platforms. But I want to welcome Eric Ninaltowski to the channel. How are you?
Doing well. Doing well, man. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Well, yeah, well, welcome. It's good to have you here. I've been looking at your project, Shadow Sentry. It looks really cool. And I was following you. I've been following you for a few years on Instagram. You did this, was this Frazetta Deadpool thing, and I thought that was really cool, man. And it kind of sucked me in. So I didn't know, how long you've been. I mean, you've been working professionally for a while now. So how long has that been going on?
Probably about 13 years professionally. Once I was published. So it's been about 13 years since I first got published.
Okay. Who all have you worked for?
I worked for, I don't know if you remember Lamppost Publications. Way back, that's the company Mike Miller was working with when he started Alias Comics. And so I did an internship with them. And then I got my first gig doing a book called Hand of the Morning Star, which was published by them, and then Zondervan. And then other than that, just small indie books. I worked for Awesome Comics, OSSM. Do you know Omar Spahi?
That name sounds very familiar, but you may have to mention something that he's worked on. Or
he did Nathaniel with Terry Huddleston, and then I did Monomyth with Seek Donnelly, who was a writer.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, and then I did Samson, a guy who did a biblical interpretation of that. He did a comic book series, and I worked on that with him, and that's kind of it. I've done sketch cards for Marvel and DC, things like that. I did some work for Disney for the comic book introduction to the Mighty Med TV series. So I did that.
That's about it. Okay. Well, obviously you actually worked on the Meg too, didn't you, or no?
I did. I did all the background inks on the Meg with Mike.
And so, okay. Well, obviously you're here with Shadow Sentry, and this is something that you've created on your own. Tell me about your creatives. Are you writing this too, or who all's on your team here?
So I'm writing it, penciling, inking. I do have a colorist, and I do plan to bring in, like a writer friend who is going to edit it for me. But the first story I'm kind of doing all myself, and then hopefully if everything goes well, I could bring in another writer come the second series and just kind of, fill in, because I have the idea, I have the concept. I'm not necessarily a writer, but comics, and I've been, comics. So I don't have any worries about, not being good. I'd rather have a writer that has done it before kind of come in behind me and clean it up, if you know what I mean.
Right. Yeah, trust me. Unfortunately, I've seen some of these projects, and don't be afraid to ask for a little helping hand on the writing side. It always, nothing wrong with having another pair of eyes on it, and help you get your plot points across and all that kind of thing. So I just but yeah, it's like. If I'm not mistaken, my dear friend Kid Icarus is working on some of this. Yeah, because Icarus did like such a fantastic job on Brand, and so obviously we are hoping to continue to keep working with him. So yeah, he is awesome. Well, he's doing Way of the Gun as well. So and I hope Mr. Icarus continues to color my horrible pages for many years to come. So yeah, but let me see. Can I pull this up? I've got it if I always hate when I do the share screen, it'll start roboting and stuff. But hopefully,
Yeah,
we will get
I
it.
have that problem as well.
Yeah, I was like, one day in the future, it'll be like a blink of an eye and everything will work, and it will, it's like, well, we're not quite that way with the internet technology yet. So let me happens. Aha. Okay. I see it. I see it. Oh, I've got the page. I've got the
Nice.
page. Are you still with me or am I roboting?
I'm here. I hear you.
Can you hear me?
No,
Okay,
I'm
okay.
good.
So I see you got a trailer here. So let me actually, I've got the audio on. Let me see. Can I play your trailer and see how you working with that?
Do it.
Oh,
Will it?
come on. Okay, here we go. Oh, sounds like the X-Men.
Right.
Oh no! Come on now. Wait a minute. Okay, here we go. It's the screen. I was making the screen large so I could to share it, and it's like it's freezing. But okay, here we go. Ooh, that's nice. Okay. Aha. Okay. Okay. That looks pretty cool. Me.
Oh,
Let me well first of all, okay, hold on. So how did you come up with this idea?
I mean, I've always loved the X-Men. I love superhero team books, and being a Christian, and I love the Bible, and just like it presents a world beyond our own that we can see, and so I kind of I love that idea and just kind of ran with it and came up with a type of superhero story that could, a way that hell has entered our realm, that we can see. And so they basically have given powers to people who have near death experiences. And when they cross back into, like they cross into the eternal realm, I call it, and then they come back and they bring with them these powers that they've smuggled in a sense to our world. So, we have these hellborn on earth, and then the highborn are God's way of counteracting that. And so, way of coming up with a whole new superhero team. And, they're not mutants. They're not, they're not accidents. These guys have powers, they're given powers, and they each have a purpose in in this war. So.
Okay. I'm looking through the art. Kind of got like I'm sure you've heard this before. You got like a Jim Lee type definitely a 90s type vibe, which is where I
Yes.
almost see like a little cross, but it's like almost like Rob Liefeld and Jim Lee at the same time. So I don't know. Just I see little parts of. I don't know if who your artistic influences are though.
Yeah, definitely Jim Lee. He's always been my biggest influence. I've always loved his artwork, and so he's probably the biggest. And then also, Mark Silvestri. So
Oh yeah.
you might see like little things here and there of each of those influences. Rob Liefeld as well. He's got that West Coast style.
I definitely see. I see you got the Matthew Weldon variant, which he did a cover for Brandway of the Gun as well. So yeah,
Nice.
he did. Yeah, he's doing okay. Nice colors. Who you got coloring? Oh, what we just said, Icarus. I'm assuming
Well,
on some of this or any. Did he do
so
everything?
the covers were done by a guy. He goes by Carbon Graphics,
Okay.
and he was going to do the interior art as well, or colors, but it just got too much for him. It was taking too much time, so that's why I brought in Kid Icarus to help with that.
I gotcha. Okay. Well, let me see. Let me go over the tiers here so we can see what you're working with. Because your featured perk here, all 4 covers and a print for $100. And what's your shipping
Yep.
running like on that, sir?
To the United States, I think 15, if I'm not mistaken. But honestly, I don't remember. And then to the rest of the world, depending, maybe 35 for like the higher priced areas.
Okay. And then, okay, so you got a digital, $10.
Yep.
And then, okay, so your basic comic is just $20.
Correct. Yep. And then it'll be 25 with shipping.
Okay, that's not bad. Okay.
Yeah.
And then 11x17 print, regular cover. Is this just the print or?
Correct. Yeah, that's just the print. So I have a print of each of the covers, and those are going to ship early. Those will be delivered in June, and the book itself will be delivered in August.
Okay, and then let me see. But yeah, so just a print, and then 11x17. So different. How many variants do you have? Just 4 covers?
4 covers total. Yeah.
Okay.
So mine, and then 3 variants.
Okay, and then let's see. 11x17 print again. And then you got the Shadow Sentry comic signed for $25.
Yep.
And then you get a variant. So I'm assuming what is this like drop down menu lets you pick which one you want or whatever?
Correct. Yep. You can get which one you want.
Double deal, 2 books. Then the late riser special, $50. What all do you get with that?
That'll be the regular cover, and then your choice of a variant cover, and then also your choice of a metal comic size version of whatever cover you like.
Oh, okay. And then the double variant option. So it's at 2?
Yep.
2.
You'll get 2 variants. Yep.
Okay.
And then also, if anybody, if somebody wanted all 3 of the variants, they would basically just do the add-on perk at the end. Okay. And if you do that, there's no extra charge for the shipping. So free shipping on that one, and then you get all 3 variants.
Okay, and then you got a five pack for all the prints,
paper prints. Yep.
So anyway, so what's okay? Because I know you have 4 covers, and then so what's the other the print? I saw you had a thing where you had a print. So there's a separate print then, right?
Correct. That'll be the promo art. So that's the one. It was the last image on the video that you played.
Okay.
Okay. That's the promo art. That's like the first team shot I did of the Shadow Sentry. So you can get your hands on that.
Okay. And then sketch cover headshot, $100. And then metalhead. So I'm assuming that's all the little metal prints.
Correct. Yep. All 4 of the minutes.
Okay. Then sketch cover full body. Okay, so you got different sketch tiers. So like the headshot is just 100, and then if you want a full body shot, it's 200.
Yep, you got it.
Okay. And then Matthew Weldon original cover. Oh, you selling it? You're parting ways with the Matthew Weldon. I love his art. I own a few of his pieces. I think I own 3 pieces of Matthew Weldon art, actually, if I'm not mistaken.
Nice.
And then
so he's actually going to get a cut of that. So he's going to get 400, and then 100 will go to my campaign. But he gave me really on the artwork. So I told him to help him out and put it for sale, and we'll see what happens.
I hear you on that. And then you get 500 for that cover is a steal. 11x17 promo art for that's what you're doing that one print for. That's $750.
Right. Yep. That's the original for that.
And then 11x17 page 1 art for $750. And then the cover art, I'm assuming that's your cover for $850.
Yes.
And I see that's still available. And then page 2 and 3 is a double page spread, $1,000, and then you're sold out on the early bird special.
Yep.
Okay, so let me pull it back in. But yeah, man, I'm digging this. This is looks really cool. Anyway, hopefully,
Yeah, man. Thank you.
yeah. And you've been doing okay with the sales. Wait a minute, is something going on? I'm trying to see what's going on with the stream. It's acting weird. Let me pull it. Let me look on YouTube, see what is going on. I want to make sure we're. Sometimes shenanigans happen on these things, and then I have to let me see, make sure we're still broadcasting to the peeps. Aha! Yeah. Okay. So someone flagged. Let's see. I don't know why, but I had that happen. I had that happen when I was on, with Kanan the other day. Someone flagged our video. So hold up. So what I'm going to have to do, we're still live. We're still live on the other platforms. So what I'm going to do is because I'll have to re-upload this. And hold on. Let me tweet out the Periscope because we still got some people watching on Periscope. Let me see. Let them know. Hey, flagged again. But the good thing is StreamYard records the stream. So I can download this bad boy and re-upload it. And then they can't stop me. Yeah. They think they're being funny. Let's see. But the good thing, because I did this the other day and the stream got flagged and I didn't know. It was a buddy of mine. And he said, hey, if you got StreamYard Pro, that the stream is recorded and it'll record it for like 7 days. So you don't actually lose anything. And I was like, aha. I was like, well, that's awesome. But so the good thing is I can still have this conversation with you and then I'll just I'll download it and re-upload it and then they can go kick rocks because they're horrible people. But
yeah. I did my first interview I did with Gary and it got flagged so I tried to redo it and then it got flagged again and it's like what the heck, so I ended up on Facebook Live.
Yeah, but you're still like I said, I'm looking, we're still live on Twitch, we're still live on Periscope, and we're still live on Facebook. So that nice. Hello, and I still see there are people watching on Periscope and Facebook, so that is awesome. And but yeah, so okay. Just in case people are watching on since they're watching on these other platforms, since we got booted from the YouTube, tell us again for the new people coming in, how did you come up with this idea for Shadow Sentry?
So it was my way to merge my things. So I've always been an X-Men fan. Growing up, the X-Men was introduced to it in comics, so I love the superhero genre. And being a Christian, love the just the idea that there's a world beyond our own, and we can't see it, but it's there. And so the Shadow Sentry is my way of kind of merging the two. And so these superheroes, they're not mutated, they're not evolutionary mistakes. They're chosen for a purpose, and they're given powers so that way they can defeat the evil that has infiltrated our world through death's doorway. People have near-death experiences, and when they return from the other side, they bring a part of the eternal, I call it, with them. And so they have these powers that they can break the laws of this realm. And so there you have the Hellborn, and then the Highborn are the police, if you will, to counteract the Hellborn that have been unleashed on the earth.
Okay. Well, like I said, the project looks really, really cool. And obviously you're handling the pencils and the inks because you don't work digitally at all, or do you do?
I don't. I'll edit things digitally in Photoshop afterwards, like post-production, but pretty much, I do all traditional.
Okay, yeah, that's why I was like, yeah, it's good. That's one of the things I will say. It's nice to have art to sell. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? I
for sure.
think there are a lot of brilliant artists out there, but boy, it's nice to. Although I know some of my friends that do digital, they'll be like, "Well, I can do like a sketch cover for you or something," that kind of thing. It's
Right.
just like, but man, yeah, I want that page that you drew. I want that.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah.
that's but yeah, that I don't know. Like I said, I like the way the project looks, and I'm assuming you will be doing more of them. You will be doing multiple.
Yeah, yeah. So this is only book one. I plan it as an ongoing series. If it does well and it keeps funding, book two will be the close of the first story arc. So book one and two will be like the completion of the first story, and then after that, it could just kind of run on and on. And I've got plenty of plans for different characters, and if things permit to do other spin-off books and introduce new teams and stuff like that. So that's the plan.
So okay, so let me ask you that question because it seems like I get this asked a lot as far as me doing brand. They go, how many books are you going to do? And I started thinking, I had like little story arcs planned out, but I was at the same point in time, I was like, I'm gonna write as many as people are willing to purchase. I'm gonna keep writing until people don't want to buy it anymore, I guess.
Yeah.
So I guess I've got, like I said, I've got plans for various story arcs, and then as those come along, I'll just I'll conclude those and then do another one, and then
Yeah.
that's the plan. So, but no, the book looks really good, man.
Thank you.
And are you doing anything else right now, or?
No, I'm just focusing on this, working on the pages, and yeah, I don't think I'd have time to do anything else and fulfill on time. So I'm just kind of focusing on this. I'll get a few questions in here and there when I can, but pretty much just 100% Shadow Sentry.
Well, let me see. So, okay, we got on Periscope Toom, and he says, "Yo, Antonio, yo, Eric, hello, Toom, how are you?"
What's up, man?
All right, but so okay, so you got a matter of fact. I'm sure people would like to watch you do a little something, something.
Sure.
Let me blow it up on you, and so okay, you're doing your ink work and everything. I mean, you're doing it traditional, so it looks like you got. Oh wow, that's a lot of black. How how much ink are you having to use on that? Uh-oh. Oh, you're
All right.
muted.
I wanted to mute myself while I set up the camera. I don't want to
Oh, okay,
get all.
okay. I was like, oh, did I lose it? And I was like, but yeah, you
Um,
got there's a lot of black right there.
yeah. So these pages are you're kind of you're meeting the main villain for the first time. So I definitely wanted the pages dark and moody.
Okay.
So this is page 11. So that's that, and then so using a lot of black. They're in a like a cavern type area. So, but yeah. So yeah, I have my little inkwell that I'm dipping into. I try to do it with marker, but my marker's not, so I'm using the ink.
Yeah.
So,
So I will say to those of you watching on Periscope that are checking me out right now, I did tweet out Shadow Sentry. I tweeted it out. The link is, it's on my Twitter timeline. When I upload this, I'll upload this after we go off the air, and it will be, of course, in the description as well. Because hey, I like to rock, but so let me ask you all the little fanboy art questions, like what kind of pens do you use and all that good stuff that I always see people when I watch these drawing streams. And they all, somebody's like, it always seems like Copic or all this kind of thing. So I don't know what all you use.
yeah, I honestly I go with the cheaper version, which is the Prismacolor, which
Mm.
I like these, and then this is for like filling in a lot of black areas. And then if I'm doing any kind of colors, I'll use Prismacolor as well. And then for the line work, I use microns. I don't use a crow quill just because I've never.
Ethan microns. I think I could have swore I heard Ethan say he used micron. I had to ask him again because
Maybe.
like, yeah, I've seen it. It like some of them that really fine line work I see. Because I'm looking at this and it looks like on his arm and stuff. You got all that nice that tight ink work on there, and that just man. Kind of, I'm getting like an old school '90s Wolverine, a Punisher, like again Jim Lee type stuff there. I mean, it looks real nice ink work.
Thank you, man.
How long have you been an artist, or what? Or were you one of these kids that was drawing at like 3 or 4 years old, and you just kept drawing or whatever?
Kind of. I started drawing in elementary school. I don't remember exactly when. I was probably 4th grade. But yeah, and then I just kept drawing and drawing. And basically comics is what kept me going because I loved them so much. And so I'd doodle what I saw on the pages and, fell in love with Wolverine and then just kept going from there. And that's pretty much it.
Okay. Let's see that.
But, and then these are the only other pens I use. These are called Bimoji pens. They're from Japan. Oh. And they have a really sweet brush. Not that one. But yeah, this is a really nice brush. So I'll use this on my holding lines to outline the characters and stuff. And then that's it.
Well, I think, what was it? It was about 6-7 months ago. Todd McFarlane, he was getting ready to do the 300th issue of Spawn. He was doing the covers and stuff, and he had like a cover, and he was, he started asking, he started trying to answer those questions because he was like, he always gets asked the same questions, he said, and he actually had a list. Matter of fact, I think it's still up on his Instagram where it's showing, you can click on one of the little boxes and it'll tell you, what do I use? And like when he's doing digital, he the Wacom tablet and then what kind of pens and stuff he had all it. I think he uses the Copics, and then but he was going through, he was doing an inking stream. He was just trying to show some of his different, just took out a piece of paper and like tried to show about fat lines, thin lines, and all this. And he uses some kind of Indian, Japanese type ink or something. It was something. It was a specific ink. He and then he takes the bottle and then he like dilutes a little bit of it or something. And it was very interesting. I just like watching him. Todd McFarlane, I'm a huge fanboy, I guess.
Yeah,
but
sure.
Yeah, but I just love watching him. He was like, he's like, I like to take this ink and he's like, I've been using this ink for 30 years, and he's like, I like to water it down just a little bit, and then it gets a nice muddy texture and all this. And I was watching, but then he gets it, and then I mean the way it looks is just brilliant. I mean, it's like once in a generation type artist, Todd.
Yeah.
So I was like, but I love, like I said, your stuff is very, very clean. Oh, I see.
And then he inked this bad boy. So yeah, I saw this. This is like a black and white version, so I had to get this. That's cool.
I thought some people have asked me to do some black and white, but are you into that? Because we're gonna do a brand black and white later on. And so I was, I'll have Kanan create a brand new cover, and it'll just be a black and white cover. But people have when I was showing some of the pages that Kanan was doing, and they look really clean in just black and white. Obviously, Icarus blessed it with his colors, but I think this image here, it will scan it looks very clean. The inks are very soft. You see some inkers and they're okay, but the lines aren't sure. If you know what I'm saying, it's like all your lines, it's very clean. It was like I'm not seeing those little, there was someone showed me something a couple weeks ago, and he did okay. He was trying to ink. I guess he was testing it. Grabbed another artist's work and was good. And you could tell he had like little weird squiggly lines and stuff. He wasn't quite sure where, and I was just like, oh God, it's not very good. I was like, lines weren't, but this, it looks very, very clean. Oh, is that like your layout?
This is my rough sketch.
That's better than a lot of people's interiors. Jeez. Okay, wow. Okay, that's a layout. I love it.
Yeah. So I do this on 8.5 by 11, and then I'll scan it in, blow it up in blue line, and then re-ink it basically, so that way I can kind of get it a lot cleaner. But yeah,
I mean, my goodness, that is, like I said, you know what? That one character in the panel, they almost looks. I know it hit me. It kind of looks like what's the guy from the main character from The Darkness? I used to love like Garth Ennis Marshall. That's
Jackie.
what yeah, it looked like Jackie from The Darkness. I was like, whoa, I bet you would kill something like that. I bet you like they Mark Sylvester called you up, was like, Eric, we'd like you to draw The Darkness for us for Top Cow or Witchblade. I bet. Oh man, because like I said, I that really does. That kind of reminds me of Jackie, man. I'm like, okay, that's the same character. Or is that just from or is it a different character?
This guy, yeah, that's the same character.
Same guy, okay. Because I was like, yeah. But
yeah,
that's what it kind of looked. I was like, that kind of looks like that dude from The Darkness. I was like, I still have my issue number 1 of The Darkness in my. I was going through my long boxes a couple weeks ago, and I was like, my God, I can't believe I still, some of these books I've had for like 25, 30 years,
Yeah, man.
I was like,
yeah, I don't know why. I got the collected editions, so I have like all the different collected ones, but I don't think I got the individual issues. I don't know why, but I love that series. It's real good.
Yeah, well, I'm a Garth Ennis. I love, it's like I started reading Preacher. And I was just, and that Punisher that he did, all those Punisher books, and I was just oh my God, his Punisher is incredible.
I don't think
so,
I've ever read any Punisher stuff.
Dude, you got to get. I mean, it's mature, but I don't know if you read those kind of books, but I mean, Preacher's obviously got some maturity stuff too. But no, his Punisher that Punisher Max stuff was real solid. No hokey superhero Punisher. He's just. Right. It seemed like the Netflix series was trying to go more in that type of direction when they were doing the Netflix thing, because that's it's a Punisher that actually ages, as opposed to like normal Marvel Punisher that he was in Vietnam and then he was in Afghanistan, and then, they had to keep. That was something I had when I had Steve Englehart on last year, and talking about all the his incredible career, but we were talking about sometimes we like Captain America and how Captain America is a hero out of time. He's World War II, and some of the problems that causes sometimes when a creator would come in and they were like, okay, let me tell a new Cap story that won't bore people, that kind of, it's, and you kind of, and we mentioned the Punisher for that specific reason, because at one point he's a Vietnam vet, and then they have to freshen him up, and they're like, okay, well, he was in Afghanistan, he's here, he's at this war, and all, because he does, it's different for him. So, where as opposed to Cap, you can just say, oh, World War II, and then it doesn't matter what, 200 years from now, they can reboot him. I mean, seriously though, you think about it, like for sure, they're still doing Captain America stories like 150, 200 years ago from now. They can reboot him, and then he's frozen. He's a capsicle. They find him, and then he's in 2075, but he's a guy from World War II. It still works, where the Punisher doesn't quite work like that. You'll have to, oh, he was in the Bio Wars or whatever. They'll have to keep updating it.
Right.
It doesn't quite work the same way. I don't know if you were ever, it's like Cap, some of, like, that was one of the reasons I was so thrilled to talk to Steve Englehart, because his Captain America stuff from like the 70s was just incredible. And then, and he wrote, a great run on Avengers after Roger Stern. And then he left, he went to DC and he wrote the Laughing Fish story, which I love that episode on Batman the Animated Series. So I don't think he got much of a check for that though, because some of the stuff as we were talking and he was telling stories, it always seemed to end, yeah, they kind of screwed me, they didn't pay me. Like every story. He was like, yeah, I was at Marvel and they screwed me, and then he went to DC. Yeah, and then DC screwed me, and then he went to Malibu, and they contacted him and asked him to lay the blueprints down for the Ultraverse And so he had, what was that character? I think not Dark Man. There was a TV show with that guy, and he had like one like eye. It was one eye was like a god. That was a Nightman. That's what it was. Whatever.
Oh,
I don't. Did you ever read Nightman, the Ultraverse stuff?
I don't think so. No.
Yeah, but there was a TV show called Nightman, and they actually brought him in to, since he was the creator of the series, they actually let him write some of the scripts on the show. It was good. It was good those first like maybe 2 seasons, and then after that, I was like, okay, they kind of lost me. It lost its way, but I know when I was talking, he was just saying that sometimes that you would get outvoted. You'd be like, hey, I don't think we should do that. No, that works on television. And then the fans are like, I used to like this show. Now it sucks.
They hated it. Yeah.
But yeah,
was Nightman. That wasn't the guy in like the hooded sweatshirt or something, was it?
Yeah, he had like these big red goggles or something. And man, it was he was kind of like Batman and like Moon Knight. And one of the things that Steve told me, because when he was over at Valiant, he was writing Shadow Man. And I can't remember the artist on that, but he was doing Shadow Man, and he wrote issues of that, and then it just seemed like they screwed him, and he decided to move on. Some of the ideas he had for the character, I think Jim Shooter created Shadow Man, and he took it over or whatever, and as the writer, because I know he also did some writing on Exo Manowar when he was over at Valiant, and but I know he actually mentioned on the air when he was doing Exo Manowar and doing all these things at Valiant, like Jim had kind of told him that he could do whatever he wanted. And then like an issue in, Jim was like, I know I told you could do what you want, but I need you to write it the way I want. And all he changed it. And so he obviously did not appreciate that, because he was like, I thought you were going to let me do what I wanted.
Yeah, man.
So he bounced, and some of the ideas like for Shadow Man, the stuff that he was going to do for Shadow Man, he ended up doing in the Nightman comic over in Malibu. So yeah, he was like, well, I was going to use these ideas for Shadow Man, and then he took them and went over and did Nightman like that. So it was, but then like I said, Nightman was actually selling until Marvel bought Malibu. When Marvel bought Malibu Comics, and Malibu, I know they had been like early partners of Image and everything, kind of helped them, like, because I've heard Rob Liefeld tell that story. They had dinner with him and Todd, and I thought, what's the guy, Eric
Larson?
Yeah, Eric Larson, and I thought Valentino, and the guy that was like the president or of Malibu. They all had a deal, and then they obviously, he worked it out where they could do some distribution or whatever. But Marvel, Steve said that Marvel wanted their technology. Because that's one thing I loved about Image back in the day. Their books looked different. They were printing on like glossy paper and stuff, and everybody else was still doing, like newsprint or whatever. But it was good newsprint, but it was still newsprint. And all of a sudden you see books like Image and Malibu, and they had this glossy paper and the digital colors and everything. It just looked so much cleaner. And Marvel to say, hey, we need their technology. They have everything set up. So if we just, I wonder what would have happened if Malibu hadn't sold to Marvel at that time, but they did. They made them a huge offer. At that time, Marvel had just bought too much stuff, because they bought Toy Biz. That's why they ended up going bankrupt, because they had overextended themselves so much, buying all these different assets.
Gotcha.
And then, obviously the comic crash happened, but one of those things that they bought was Malibu. And then they talked to Steve, and they told him that they wanted him to do, it was supposed to be a merging of the universes where their characters, it's kind of, I remember they did that in the Milestone books, and then they had like the crossover to DC Comics characters in the the Dakota universe, I think. Milestone. I don't know if you ever read Milestone books back in the day.
I don't think so.
What was that? Static Shock and Icon and all those, all those different black superheroes. But they had like the Dakota, I think it was the Dakota universe, and they did this Icon versus Superman, and it was like, well, and they, did that whole, but they did the same thing. So Marvel bought Malibu, and they did a Worlds Collide type of thing where the universe. So all of a sudden you see, matter of fact, I have it in my long box. It's like Wolverine versus Nightman. Okay. Spider-Man, but they had a character. I can't remember the name of that character, but he was over, and I'm thinking I thought Ed McGuinness actually worked over there or something, but it was whoever it was. The guy's style was very similar to Ed McGuinness. This character had these like weird metal bracelets. He was Superman, but he was overly muscular. And,
Prime?
That's him.
Yep.
Okay, so you know that one. Okay.
That one, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, but he was like overly muscular.
Yes.
And like I said, he kind of the dude that was illustrating the book, he kind of reminds me of Ed McGuinness. It may not have been him, but I don't know. I don't think Ed McGuinness has been in the business that would make him be in the business like 30 years, and he's a pretty young guy, I thought. So,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, to me, it doesn't look like his style, but you never know. I mean, everybody starts out maybe looking like somebody else's style, but Yeah,
I'm telling you, like I said, big muscular, the cape and the hair, and so I see like Spider-Man and Prime. It was like they were doing everything, and then they brought Thanos in, and there was apparently some kind of Infinity Stones for the Ultraverse. That it was the whole thing. They were bringing all the villains together, and they were trying to do things. And Steve said it was starting out okay, and then Marvel screwed him. You had to listen to that stream. It's crazy because it seemed like I talked to him for like almost 2 hours, and he was very generous with his time. I appreciated Steve. I'd love to have him back on, but yeah, it was. Because there was so many, people I had like 90 people in the chat, and they were asking all these different questions. And yes, Steve was, like I said, he was, I was like, how long can you stay? And he was like, I got some time. And I was like, really? Because I figured he'd tell me, hey, man, I'll give you an hour and let me get out of here,
Right.
And an hour goes, and I said, well, before I hit the button, I said, hey, you need to go, let me know. And he's like, oh, okay, I got some time. And then, hour and a half, we're still talking. It was getting towards the end. And then he said, okay, let's start wrapping it. I was like, okay, because at that time, he done gave me over an hour of his time. I was like, wow, that's great. Like I said, I think the stream was like an hour and 50 minutes. It was pretty cool. and then I even had to talk to him after we got off the stream and everything. So it was but he talked about his whole career, some of the Green Lantern stuff. Obviously, like I said, I mentioned his Avengers run. I talked to him about. I always loved the way he wrote minority characters. That was when he was a writer on Luke Cage, and then he wrote. It was a pretty infamous story where Luke Cage had done. He was doing the Heroes for Hire thing, and because that was the whole thing. Like Luke Cage can't be a superhero. He's like, I'm gonna be a superhero, but you got to pay me. So he would do jobs for people. That's why Heroes for Hire. So him, and then they bring because it's one of the things we talked about. It's like they were like, well, there's not enough diversity. We need. I don't think people can relate to this black superhero. So let's put him with Iron Fist because Iron Fist wasn't selling as well. And so they were like, well, if we put them together, it might work. But Steve actually did a pretty good job on his run. But he wrote this story where Dr. Doom had hired Luke Cage to do a job for him. I think it was only this is like 70, 74 or something. I mean, this is a long while ago. So this story is old. And but I think at that time, Dr. Doom, the job was like a $200 job. He's like, you do this and it's $200. So Luke took the job. He's like, I agree, sucker, and he took the job. I mean, because back then all the black characters talk like Shaft, and You got it, sucker. You know, they're like Mr. T or something. You know, like, you jive, sucker. $200. You know, that kind of thing. So, well, he did the job for Dr. Doom, and obviously Dr. Doom is not a nice guy. So when he comes, all right, I did the job. Pay me, sucker. And Dr. Doom decided to stiff him and not give him the $200.
Mm.
And this story's great. It's been reprinted in like classic Luke Cage and stuff. You know, it's like this story's great. So what he does, Luke Cage, so Dr. Doom sticks him for $200 and goes back to Latveria. And so Luke Cage goes to what's that, Freedom Tower or wherever, the Fantastic Four's, the Baxter Building.
Okay.
So he goes to the Baxter Building, and Luke Cage steals a fantastic car from the Fantastic Four. I'm not kidding. This is crazy. So like the things like, Luke, what are you doing? I'm taking this car, sucker. You know, he steals the fantastic. I'm not making this classic. This is a classic story. This is like I said, it's been reprinted multiple times because a lot of people thought this was one of the greatest Luke Cage stories ever. So he steals the fantastic car from the Fantastic Four, and like Ben Grimm is running, hey Luke, what are you doing? You know, so yeah. I don't know the optics of having the black guy steal a car from his friends, but hey, what are you gonna do? But the story's classic. So he flies to Latveria. He takes the fantastic car, flies to Latveria, and then obviously Dr. Doom's got his defenses and everything, and he's I want my money, sucker. You know, he's coming. I mean, I'm telling you, I think you can find it online. This is hilarious. So obviously, he battles. You know, he's in Latveria. He battles Dr. Doom's, robots and all this kind of stuff. You know, he gets to Dr. Doom, and at that point, Dr. Doom's like, "Damn, it was only $200. He can't believe this dude's going through this much trouble for $200."
Right.
And it was crazy. So he finally, after all that trouble over a measly $200, Dr. Doom's like, "Pay this dude, get him out of here." So then, like later on, there was something else that came up with Dr. Doom, and then and they needed somebody to do something, and they said, "Oh, well, this guy wants to do the job." And they found out it was Luke Cage, and he was like, "Hey, just pay the guy." He don't want any problem. But then the whole thing was hilarious. I was like, yeah, after all that trouble that Luke Cage put Dr. Doom through for only $200, it was the craziest. But I don't know how, that I had to ask Steve about that story because it was just insane. I was like, okay, this dude, $200, and he causes all this trouble and destruction, and he gets his $200. You jive, sucker, and he flies back.
I gotta ask though, was the Fantastic Mobile thing, was that all jacked up or was it okay? Because that'd be funny if it's like all jacked up and he takes it back.
Well, he took it back. It's been so long since I read it, but because I just remember like there was a panel and Ben was like running after him while he was stealing the car. He was like, Ben, he was like, hey, I'm sorry, Ben. I gotta get my money, sucker. It's like,
That's funny.
Sweet Christmas, all that kind of thing. But and I had to find it. So it's like I said, it's actually, like I said, the premise it sounds insane, but it was actually pretty well written. And I just Steve took Luke seriously as a character because a lot of those black characters back then, it's one thing I had mentioned to Steve is like their superpower was just being black. Like Black Hercules, whatever, that's the Black Lightning, it was like the superpower, it doesn't matter what else they can do, the superpower is being black. So it was it was always interesting. But then so Steve's writing Moon Knight. I mean, not Moon Knight, he's writing Luke Cage, and he creates Misty Knight. And obviously they paired him with they pair him with Iron Fist, and that goes really, he's writing Iron Fist, and it's like the run's really good. He creates all these different characters. A lot of those characters he created ended up on the Luke Cage Netflix show. And
okay, yeah.
I didn't know if you watched that or not though, but Misty Knight, Misty Knight was created by Steve Englehart. And then He also created Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu, which I know they're making a movie about Shang-Chi. So I asked him about that because it was like right when he came on, they had maybe a couple weeks before greenlit a script for Shang-Chi to be written. So, I asked him about, he was like, well, he said, they let me know that they're going to do the Shang-Chi thing, but he said, I don't really have any creative control or whatever. I guess he's expecting a check,
Gotcha, yeah. I was going to say, did he get royalties? So he created that character, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he created Shang-Chi. And he also created, because he actually got thanked in the Avengers movies, especially in Guardians of the Galaxy as well, because he created during his Avengers run that character Mantis. He created Mantis. Yeah. He created Star-Lord. He created Star-Lord, and then so it's like I'm looking at it, I was like, man, this dude created all of, and then like I said, he wrote the Laughing Fish story. When he went over to, and I'm trying to remember, he created this. He only wrote like 4 or 5 issues of Batman. I think it was Detective Comics, but they reprinted it so many times. And there's a book I bought, the greatest Batman stories ever told. And they had all his, because he was about to go, I think he said he's about to go overseas or something. He's about to take a little break from comics. He's about to go to Europe, I think he said. And he just want to, and I think he said Denny O'Neil had offered him a quick writing, you just get him a little cash or whatever. He's like, okay, well, if you just let me write like 4 issues or something, I'll just take that and it'll be good. And he created this, I can't remember, what was her name? He created a woman to be Bruce Wayne's girlfriend. I'm not thinking. I'm trying to think. Was it Vicky Vale or something? Because one thing he mentioned on the air is he wanted Bruce Wayne to have a sex life. He said he thought that was weird. That everybody seems to write Batman as this he's supposed to be this playboy millionaire or billionaire now, but you never see him with a woman unless it's somebody like Catwoman and they're fighting each other or whatever. He was like, so I want him to have a girlfriend and I want him to actually have a life outside of the cow. And, that whole thing, like I said, it was brilliant. Yeah. I love talking to him, because he really gave a lot of insight about how some of, because I was curious about his Green Lantern run, and we were talking about how he handled minority characters. And one of the things he had mentioned was when he took over the Green Lantern, John Stewart was the Green Lantern. They had shuffled Hal off to another sector, so he didn't have to be on the show anymore or be in the comics. So when Steve took over, John was the Lantern, and I think Guy Gardner was in there as well. But they said, hey, we're bringing Hal back. So they bring Hal back, and then he says that they tell him something very similar to when he was writing Captain America, and it was Captain America and the Falcon on the title, and they tried to X the Falcon out, and Steve was like, no, his name's on the title. Let's actually use him. Let's actually do something with, because he was supposed to be. He said he's not a sidekick. He's actually the co-star, and so they tried to get him to get rid of John Stewart because they were bringing Hal back. And he was like, no, why come I can't have John Stewart too? And so a lot of that early Green Lantern Corps stuff, because he created Kilowog, Steve Englehart created with what's the guy? Man, I can't remember the. Oh God, I can't. It's driving me nuts. This dude's Joe. Oh man, I'm about to look him up because I can't remember this dude's a legend. I mean, he's still with us. I know. Actually, Ethan interviewed him at a con or something. Let's see, Kilowog. I had to look. This dude's he's a legend, as far as I remember. As a matter of fact, I remember that Steve Englehart, Joe Staten or Staten. Yeah. And so they created Kilowog and a couple of other Lantern characters that are still around to this day. So Steve. Yeah, well, Steve's had a great career. So, but yeah, I need to, like I said, I don't think the 2 hours was enough. I need to get him back on and and pick his brain a little more.
For sure, man.
Yeah, man. He just had so many. He had so many stories. You know, it's like I like to get as many of those people on as possible because a lot of those there are a lot of legends in the game. I just love comics.
Yeah.
I've been told I'm too old to like comics, but I like comics.
Too old.
Yeah, well, that was one of the things. Like my ex, she didn't quite seem to understand my fascination with comics, and she reads a lot. And like when we moved in together, she had all these bookshelves and everything, and I was like, she read novels and stuff. She's reading real books, and so I'm reading graphic novels and stuff. I'm reading like collected editions of like the Dark Knight Returns. I'm reading Kingdom Come. Daredevil, Man Without Fear, Frank Miller, with Frank Miller and John Romita Jr. I loved all that stuff. So, and Chris Claremont, Frank Miller, Wolverine Limited Series. I'm reading all that stuff. And I go, I know if I give you these books and you read, you'll figure out how brilliant they were. Oh, and I gave her Watchmen. I gave her Alan Moore Watchmen. So, I took them and she read every single. She said, "Okay, I'll read it." I gave her all the different things, and she was like, "Yeah, I didn't do anything." But I was like, "How do you read Watchmen and not?" It was all right. Kingdom Come. Yeah, that was bad. Okay, I was like, Kingdom Come.
Well, kudos to her for reading them, man. Because hey. But my wife's the same way, man. She's not into comics at all. She could, I mean, the comic movies she'll watch with me and she'll like, but it's just not her cup of tea. So
she loves the comic movies. We watched Deadpool together, and she laughed her ass off. She was, we went to see Deadpool 2 together. Deadpool 2 wasn't as good, but we watched she watched the first Deadpool a couple times. She watched that movie like 3 or 4 times because. She hadn't seen it, and she came over. Before we moved in together, she would come and stay the weekend with me or whatever, And I said, "Hey, I got, I pulled my little case out with my DVDs out, and I'd start showing." She's like, "Oh, you got Deadpool? I haven't seen that yet." I said, "Okay, cool." Boom, pop it in, and it was like she got addicted to it because she was like,
wow.
She was like, "Can I watch that Deadpool movie again?" And I was like, "I don't want to sit." I done seen Deadpool like 15 times at that point, and she was like, she was serious. I was like, "Well, I'm about to go take a nap. I'll throw this in for you." And I watched. She's a big Harry Potter fan, so on our very first date, she came over, and I was like, "Do you want me to cook for you, or what do you want?" She's like, "No, I don't want you to go any trouble." She's like, "Just like order a pizza or something." I was like, "What do you like on your pizza?" So we just got like a meat lovers pizza, and she wanted the breadsticks and the sauce, and got some sodas. And then I threw in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, because she's a Harry Potter fan. She hadn't watched those movies. She had watched the regular Harry Potter movies, but she actually had the whole box set. It's like 7 movies because they, Deathly Hallows was 2 parts, but she had like the whole box set, but she hadn't watched. She's like, "I've been kind of hesitant to watch," and I had watched Fantastic Beasts and I thought it was brilliant. Second one was just okay. That first Fantastic Beast I thought was brilliant. The second one was Johnny Depp, and I was like, okay. it was all right. It was okay. I don't know if you're into that kind of stuff though, but
I saw him. Yeah.
I
agree. I thought the first one was better, definitely, for sure.
Yeah, first one I thought was fantastic, and then the second one was just like, oh, okay. It's okay.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
yeah, they lost their way. Something happened. I don't know, but it's the same thing. I said with Deadpool 2. I was excited for Deadpool 2, and I thought Josh Brolin was going to bring, because I loved him as Thanos. So I was like, "Oh, Josh Brolin's going to be Cable," and I saw the trailer, and it looked like all the good stuff was in the trailer. The rest of it was just kind of mediocre. It wasn't bad, but. The first one was so great that I was expecting something else. I think if I hadn't saw Deadpool 1 and I just went in cold and watched Deadpool 2, I'd be like, "Oh, this is great." But because I loved Deadpool 1 so much and then I watched it, it just didn't do it for me the same. But I saw that as soon as all this madness is over, they're going to go into pre-production on Deadpool 3, and that's supposed to actually, bring him into the MCU, which I'm excited for that, because I think, especially if they do a real X-Force movie, because that was another thing that kind of pissed me off in the second when they did X-Force and it was like a joke.
Right.
I don't know if you ever checked out that gritty X-Force run that was from about 10 years ago or whatever. And, where they, it's Wolverine, it's Psylocke, Phantom X, they're like a mutant hit squad. They're doing these covert ops, trying, people that are trying to mess with mutants, and they go in there, Wolverine ain't messing around, Deadpool ain't messing around, it was mature and it was gritty. I loved it. It was awesome. So I don't know if you ever read that X-Force, but I used to read regular X-Force.
I've seen it with the gray uniforms, right?
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. So when I heard they were doing X-Force, I said, "Oh, this is gonna be cool." And it was like all jokey joke stuff, and I was like, "Oh, damn." Okay.
Yeah, I was totally surprised how they just kind of like literally threw them all under the bus. It was like, dang.
I was like, "Oh man, if they do X-Force for real and it's serious." Oh, it was like, because they had gotten approved for an R-rated movie. So I was like, it's going to be R-rated. I was like, oh man. And then like some of the casting choices, like the guy that played Shatterstar and all this stuff, I was like, okay. All right.
Did you hear the theory that basically Shatterstar, there's so many different versions of like Shatterstar in that universe that they could bring the other one, the more, the one in their movie or something? Did you hear that?
So like is he cloned, or are you talking like a multiverse type thing?
Yeah, like I'm not familiar with his character, but they made it sound like he's from another universe where there's multiple versions of him. And
he's from the same place that what's the name? Longshot is from. That was
okay.
Which I had Ann Neseni on too. So Ann Neseni was on last year, and she co-created with Arthur Art Adams. And
okay.
So yeah, they created, and he had the luck powers. That was the long shot. He's got 4 fingers, just like Shadows. I mean, they're from the same planet. So and then Mojo had like taken that world over or whatever, and did the whole game. He's got the gaming. He's got network. That's what I always thought. I thought Mojo was such a unique villain. Chris Claremont's imagination is incredible. It's like got this guy's doing like reality game. It kind of reminded. He's like I always loved Arnold Schwarzenegger in The Running Man. I don't know if you remember that movie.
That was such a good movie. Yep.
Yeah, he's like, "I'll be back," and Richard Dawson goes, "Only in a rerun."
Right.
And I was like, Richard Dawson was. I actually got the collector's edition of that. It had it's got a director's commentary with Arnold Schwarzenegger on it. I guess I bought a couple of those. I bought Total Recall collector's edition. They paid Arnold Schwarzenegger $75,000 to record a director's commentary for that movie.
Wow.
$35,000 just to talk for like 2 hours.
Wow.
But I mean, it was worth it though. Some people don't like the director's commentaries, but I love them. I get down there and I'll just be I'll watch, and they'll be like, man, I had the flu the day that we shot this, so we had to it's like he's like, that's why the lighting looks really bad, because they were trying to I was like, I was really sick, and I was like, you'd hear little crazy stories like that, and that's the kind of stuff that one thing with Brand that we did was when we finished the comic, Doug Tenable actually had the idea. He said, "Why don't you do a director's commentary and just like sell it for $5?" And I was like, "That's a good idea." And so I put, like almost 40 people bought it, and I was like, it's just $5. And so I had Kanan flew him in, to sign comics, and while he was here. And then I hit Icarus up. I said, "Hey, Mr. Icarus, would you hop on the director's commentary with us?" And he's like, "Yeah." And so we all 3 of us, we sat down and we recorded the director's commentary. And I had people hit me up. They was like, "Man, that was great listening to you guys talk about." We just went through the whole comic page by page, and
that's cool.
Things that got changed and stuff like that. So I'm doing that again for book 2. So it's like I'm I'm curious about 'cause sometimes you write things out and then I give the script to Kanan and he changes it and all that kind of stuff. So I always like that. I like the idea of a director's commentary, and it really had a lot of that's why I always loved listening to them on these different tracks and stuff. So like I listened to the Avengers, all the different Avengers movies. I bought all those, and then it's like, oh, director's commentary, boom, boom, boom. It's like get all that and just get it on Blu-ray and kind of listen to Deadpool. I bought Deadpool and had the director's commentary and just kind of listen, because they didn't have very much money on the first one. They which I say not very much money, but they only gave them like 75, 70. I think they only had like $75 million for the movie. And and
that was they were like that did the first movie.
Wait, say that again. You were breaking up.
Were they a gaming company who did the first movie?
As far as the guy, the director, he had done some work for some gaming companies. I know that for a fact. Yeah, the what's the guy? Tim Story, I think his name was. The director. He had done a trailer, which is still online. It got millions of hits. When they were trying to, they did the trailer to show to Fox, and Fox wasn't sure they wanted to greenlight Deadpool. And so he shot this thing. It was like, it's only like a 3 or 4 minute clip or whatever, and they get Ryan Reynolds and he's sitting at the top of a building. I don't know if you've seen this or not, but he's listening to like Holla Back Girl. He's dressed up as Deadpool and playing Gwen Stefani, like Holla Back Girl. That's my shit. That's my shit. He's just sitting there, and he's like drawing, and he's like, hey guys, I'm Deadpool. He starts talking, and I was like, whoa, this looks really cool, man. And I was like, if they make a Deadpool movie that looks like that, it's gonna be a hit. And then he like jumps off the building and lands in this like limousine or whatever that the mob guys are in. And then, it gets real, he's chopping heads and shooting and slicing bullets and doing all, the action was insane. And then, like I said, it was only like a 3 or 4 minute clip. It was real quick. And Fox saw that. And for whatever reason, they just said, I don't think we want to do anything with it. And someone leaked it online. Someone said, this thing is brilliant. We're going to, and I think it is, in retrospect, it was probably, he hasn't, I don't think he's admitted it, but a lot of people think it was Ryan Reynolds that actually leaked it. And it ended up on YouTube, and all of a sudden it get millions and millions of views. And then they go, oh, wait a minute, people like this. And then all of a sudden, because he didn't leak it for like a year or so after, because some of the people that had turned it down had left and they'd went, because I know one of the guys that turned it down actually left Fox and went to work for Sony. He's actually there now. He's one of the guys that greenlit like Spider-Man Homecoming and the Far From Home and stuff. But he didn't. I don't think he understood what they were trying to do with Deadpool, and so he left Fox. And for whatever reason, this footage got leaked out, and then it's on YouTube, and it's getting all these views, and everybody's like, "Yo, y'all got to make this." And then they gave him like $75 million. And it's like, all right, make the movie. And obviously Deadpool 1 ended up making like $800 million. It was crazy, So the second one did like 750. So it did okay, but it costs a lot more to make it. I think they spent like 160 million on it.
Right.
And with the and like I said, I thought when they said Josh Brolin was going to be Cable, it was going to be. It wasn't that he was bad. It just didn't do it for me. I don't know. I need to go back. I've watched it like 3 times. I was trying to make myself love it. I was like, I must have been in a bad mood. I know this is going to be brilliant. I know it's going to be awesome. And, I just kept watching. I was like, okay, it's not doing it for me. Okay. And,
you tried.
But I, like I said, I like Cable and everything. Yeah. I've got Cable's first appearance, I got his first appearance. I got Deadpool's first appearance in New Mutants 98. And, nice. And yeah, like I said, I thought the special effects were good, and they had, he's got the cyborg arm, and he's got like a shield or something that comes like, and I was like, oh wow, this is gonna be great. and then it was, I don't know, the humor and everything. It just didn't quite do it for me, as opposed to the first one. But they had obviously much higher budget on special effects and everything. So some of the jokes were funny. I remember he was at the X Mansion and he was looking for X-Men to help him, and all the other X-Men, they had this shot where the X-Men, they were like, shh, and they were closing the door, pretending like they didn't know it was there. I thought that was funny.
I remember that.
Yeah, that was great. But I mean, some of those jokes were funny, but for the most part, I just thought the movie was okay. But I love Josh Brolin as Thanos. I think I've heard people say, "Oh man, I hated him as Thanos." I was like, I loved him as Thanos. I thought he was great. I thought Infinity War was incredible, and I thought Endgame was okay. I thought it started off really strong. Don't think they stuck the landing. I thought like that big battle scene at the end, I thought they tried to get a little bit too much. They got a little woke on me. And it was just they were like, okay, and yeah. And it was like, oh, we've got to make sure Captain Marvel looks strong and all this. But especially some people will say, oh, you're just a sexist male and you don't like anything with women. But then I listened to the director's commentary on Endgame, and they admitted that they were doing some of this stuff. They were like, we thought it'd be a very important moment for women if we did this, that kind of thing. So they're admitting that we wanted to let the women have their moment to shine, and I was like, okay, so you didn't have the same agenda when you did Infinity, although they shot them both at the same time and then they had to come back in and do some reshoots and stuff. But for whatever, they were like, well, we're ending the movie. So a lot of the decisions they made in Endgame, they specifically, like at the beginning when Cap is at the meeting, the survivors meeting or whatever, where all the people had lost people during the snap. Yeah, and they specifically made sure that they had a gay man in there. They had Joe Russo's like, I'm gonna play a gay man, and so I watched the movie and it didn't matter to me. I was just the guy was talking about he had lost his partner in the snap, and then the next scene you just kept it moving. I was like, okay. And then they started doing press about it. They were like, we've got an on-screen gay man and all this. And I was like, that's the problem. You did the thing for the wrong reason. And so now you got to do it's important. We must talk about it. We must do interviews. All this kind of thing. And that's where you got sidetracked, because I was in the theater with people and he was like, yeah, I lost my husband or whatever. And nobody flipped out. They were just like, okay, next. And it just, I don't know. It was kind of like it was like a fart in church or something. It didn't land the way they thought it was going to land. So then they had to go around and do press about it. It was like, don't you understand? We put a gay man on the screen. Yeah, we did that. And I was like, because nobody cared. I was in the theater. Everybody was like, okay, next scene. Okay, Cap's there with these guys. Okay, what are we going to do now? And so they go, no, now we're going to do another movie. And so now they're doing the Externals movie, and they make sure they go, one of the gods is going to be gay. It's like, we're all about inclusion at Marvel. So one of the gods is going to be. So I was sitting there going, you guys are doing this stuff and I'm sure you saw the Safe Space and Snowflake characters that they did. Over 200,000 people thumbs down on the video on YouTube.
Wow.
That's incredible. And I'm talking about liberal people, SJWs, see this and they go, what are you guys doing?
Yeah, like why would you name it Safe Space when like Safe Space is almost like a derogatory term for these left-wing, like why would you do that?
I was like, they thought it. And that book's been like they've had a couple volumes of the New Warriors. This book's gonna run for a couple months. I guess when everybody gets back to work, that is. It'll run for a few months and then it'll be canceled. Because what was it when they had Iceman, And what was it? I can't remember. Was it Cena Grace? I think was the artist and writer on Iceman. And because Richard, your boy Zach, he used to review the books, and so the book got canceled. Like nobody was reading it, and they canceled the book. And then someone went to the press, and they was like, Marvel canceled the only book with a gay lead in it. And so then they brought the book back because they said, okay, we'll bring it back as a maxi series so Cena can like wrap up his storylines and stuff. Mm-hmm. And so at that point, and then they try to bring it back again, and people weren't responding to it. So it's very strange because, like, I mean, the New York Times wrote an article. They were like, Marvel canceled the only book with a gay lead. It's like, that kind of thing. So they get embarrassed into bringing the book back when nobody's wanting to read the material. Mm-hmm. So it was strange. And then, like a year and a half later, Cena was out of a job and he's doing interviews talking about Marvel kind of threw me to the wolves. They threw me under the bus and they didn't support me and all this kind of stuff. I was like, because that was one thing I would say about your boy Zach's when he reviews comics, even if he's had problems with people, if they do good work, his reviews are pretty fair. He tries to do fair reviews, and he said that there was other work that Cena had done that he enjoyed, and he was just like, but in this particular instance, he recognized that Cena had gotten this job. And it wasn't based on merit. They needed to make sure they was like, we've got a gay guy and he's writing Iceman, and Iceman's gay now. And so, the whole thing is weird. So I was sitting on this is the way comics are now, I guess. I don't know. So
yeah,
it's a murky world.
Mm-hmm. It's now in all the all the stuff you watch that you stream on Amazon and Netflix. It's like in everything now.
Well, it's like everything's a CW show now, because I noticed they make that's one thing I noticed about all the CW shows, which I think, what's the guy? I think his name's Greg Berland, and he's a gay man, and so he takes characters on his show that aren't gay and makes them gay. And he was like involved. I know he, like, one of the people that worked with on some of the CW shows. They also did Gotham, and then they switched everything around on that too. They was like, okay, Penguin's gay, Riddler's gay. It was like they did. It was like they're gay and they're in love with each other, and I was like, what are y'all doing? It was really strange. Some of the stuff, some of the weird TV choices that they have made. I stopped watching a lot of that stuff. I used to watch all those shows, and like Supergirl's awful, and it was awful. It started being awful like around season 2. The first season I was like, okay, this might be okay. Season 2, it started getting bad. Season 3 was even worse, and I haven't watched since. The only time I watch now is when they do the big crossover thing.
Gotcha.
Like, they did that last Crisis. And they threw the kitchen sink in there. They had Tom Welling from Smallville and Erica Durance from Smallville. They had Burt Ward from the old 60s Batman. They had everybody in there. Like I said, that was interesting. And then they even had what's the name? Ezra Miller that played the Flash in the Justice League movie. They had him in there. And although I just saw that footage of him choking that fan out in, like, what was it, Scandinavia, wherever the hell, somewhere overseas.
Yeah, what was that about? I saw it, but I didn't watch it with the volume up. I was like, is that like a prank? Like, what the heck?
Yeah, I thought it was a goof. That's why I thought it was a goof, and people were like, no, it wasn't a goof. I thought he was like playing with the person, and they were, oh, you want to fight, bro, or something like that. And then next thing you know, you get choked out. I was like, what the hell is that? But that's why I'm saying I need to. But everything I'm seeing says no, it wasn't a joke, and it was. I was like, that just seems strange. I've seen so many people. That thing went viral, man. People making YouTube videos about everything. So I said, they're supposed to be going into pre-production on the Flash movie. So I suspect that we'll be getting a new Flash if that is
Right.
indeed. Yeah, got to choke somebody out. Yeah, let's have him as the Flash.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
Yeah, that's it. Well, the page looks very nice, sir. It looks
Thank you,
like
man.
I love what you've done here, and well, yeah, man. I think yeah, we've been going about an hour and a half here. I think we'll wrap this bad boy up. But
All
I
right.
want you to plug your social medias and on the interweb and all that good stuff, and let people know how they can reach out to you. Obviously, when I put this up on the YouTube, it will have a link to Shadow Sentry in the description, and of course, like I said, I tweeted it out as well. Anybody who want to check out my timeline, it's on there. But
Cool.
go ahead, Eric. Tell them how they can reach out to you there.
Yeah, so it's super easy. Just go to Eric Ninaltowski Art on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You'll find me on there. I have a website, ericninaltowskiart.com, and all the links are on there as well. And you'll find a link to the Shadow Sentry campaign. But that's like your hub where you can find my gallery, commissions, my store, and all that stuff. But yeah, and I do have a YouTube channel. I try and stream, 5 days a week, 4 days a week, something like
Oh
that.
wow. Okay.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
do live drawing. It's fun. I just chat with everybody in the chat, and yeah, so that's Eric Ninaltowski Art as well on YouTube, and I think that is it.
All
So
right. Well, as for me, of course, it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and right here on this YouTube channel, all at Akari Press. If you type in AkariPress.com, it will take you to Brand Way of the Gun, which I am doing with Kanan White. And then, of course, check us out on Teespring and Amazon.com. The links to those will be in the description. Please, please, please go out there. Back Shadow Sentry. It looks really cool. And I like Eric. Eric's a nice guy. Eric,
man.
thank you for being here, sir.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. It's been fun.
All right. We're out, guys. Peace.
Peace.